Hello and happy Wednesday! Today we are welcoming recently married bride Olivia onto the Busy Bride podcast. Olivia got married this past October at Huntingdon Valley Country Club north of Philly. Olivia talked a lot about the impact her vendors had on her wedding day and the surprise musical instrument that was instrumental in making her reception absolutely iconic. I had to. Okay, I cannot wait for you to hear about this incredible wedding. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Busy Bride podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Marie, and I created this podcast to help you research vendors and learn valuable advice as you plan the most special and true to you wedding day of your dreams. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, Olivia. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited too. So quick rapid fire questions to start out. Where are you based? Where did you get married? And when did you get married?
Okay, so we are currently living in Harleysville, Pennsylvania. And we got married at Huntingdon Valley Country Club, which I am obsessed with still. And we got we got married October 21st, 2023.
And who are you married to?
I'm married to Alex.
The love of your life.
Sweet, sweet Alex.
Amazing. Huntingdon Valley was awesome. I loved it there.
It was so beautiful. It was also the only venue that we actually went to see in person.
No way.
Yeah, I had had a bunch of phone calls with different places, and we went October 22nd, 2022, and we met with Allison, and we just had a really nice conversation with her and really liked her a lot. And they had just had that week an opening, a wedding was canceled or moved around for October 21st. And we'd kind of gone into it being we don't know when we're going to get married. We're just kind of figuring out what this process looks like. And that night we were talking about, next year would be kind of nice. And we just kept talking about all of the positives, but kept being but it was just the first time we saw a venue. So we have to figure it out. And then eventually, I don't remember if it was Alex or I were just what else are we gonna find? We just keep talking about how it was everything that we were looking for, and I don't really know what else we're expecting, and neither did we. So it was kind of eventually Alex was call Allison to book it. What are we waiting on?
I love that so much. I feel like wedding venue shopping is kind of like wedding dress shopping. It's either the first one or the 12th.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very happy for you. And it's very cool that there was an opening too, right when you toured. I feel like that is also a big sign for the time of year that you wanted as well.
Exactly the time of year that we went, which is, we got engaged in September. So, the month later we were starting. But yeah, no, it couldn't have worked more perfectly.
That's awesome. And how did Alex propose?
So he proposed in our living room. That morning he was getting ready to go to work, and our very first date was carving pumpkins in college. We went to a pumpkin patch, we carved pumpkins. And so as he was leaving for work, he was let's go to a pumpkin patch tonight. Let's carve a pumpkin, which we have done throughout. We were together for 6 years. So we have done that throughout, but it's never been his idea. So I was again, at that point, 5.5, almost 6 years together. And I was oh, okay. I'm going to get proposed to at a pumpkin patch. And so I'm getting ready in our room, and I come out, and he was on one knee, pre-pumpkin patch. Yeah, and he was do you want to go to a pumpkin patch with me? And I said yes. And he said, and then will you marry me? And I said yes. It was very cute.
That is so sweet.
It was very sweet.
Oh my gosh.
So
you went to the pumpkin patch as fiancés?
As fiancés, yeah. We took our little selfies as, with me with the ring on his chest, and yeah, it was great.
Did he tell you if he knew that you kind of were getting on the idea that maybe he was going to propose since you guys had the first day of the pumpkin patch, and that's why he proposed before you went?
I think, well, so he was originally, that wasn't originally when he was going to propose. Originally, we were going to the beach with my family, and his family was going to come up um, for like the weekend and stay with us. And so originally he was going to do it that weekend. And he was like, it stormed like the whole weekend. His parents didn't end up coming. And so I was kind of like, really? And he was like, yes. So I think he did kind of want to like a little bit catch me off guard because I was like, oh my God, thinking at that point, oh, we're gonna get engaged this weekend, and then we didn't. Um, so it was a few weeks later. So I was kind of like expecting it. So I think he just kind of wanted to like squeak it in like before I was like fully expecting it. And also it was raining that day as well. And he was like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to like get down on one knee in a pumpkin patch, like, will the pumpkin patch even be open if it's raining? He was like, I eliminated every question that could have arose. I was like, I wasn't dealing with the elements throwing this off again. Like we'd gone ring shopping and everything together, so it wasn't like he was gonna I was never gonna be like, where did this come from? But yeah, it was he definitely had to troubleshoot a little bit.
So
Poor
did you
thing.
have like the idea of kind of exactly what ring you wanted picked out, or just a general idea of what looks good on your hand? Like,
When we had gone ring shopping, I thought I knew what I wanted. Like I thought I wanted an emerald cut. And I'm lucky I work with somebody whose brother is a jeweler. And so we went to him first. We went to like a couple different places just to like kind of shop around or like see what we wanted. Um, and he was very like, I don't care if you guys come to me, but like whatever questions you have, like you're Lauren's friend, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. And he was like, emerald cut is gonna chip easiest because of the like harsh, like because of the cut. Um, and it doesn't have as many like cut facets underneath, so it's not gonna look as like shiny, like it's not gonna catch the reflections that other rings are gonna have. And because it's like so bulky, you have to get like a bigger carat size to like for it to look like um a bigger ring. Like a carat round cut versus a carat emerald are gonna look like the emerald cut's gonna look smaller.
interesting. I did
And
not
I was
know any
like,
of that.
neither did I. And now I'm like, I feel like I am like a great source for men because I'm like, does she want an emerald cut? Just know it's gonna chip.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
So, what cut did you end up? Did you leave like with a cut that you love? And then what cut did you end up getting?
I I left being like, oh, I always wanted like a solitaire ring, because I also was gonna use my grandmother's wedding band and which which is like very special. But so I always wanted it to be like a solitaire um cut, and I liked oval, I liked round, and maybe was it pear? I don't remember if it was pear or not. And so it wasn't like ever going to be very exciting, but he did kind of like he did a twisted band, like a plain gold twisted band, um, which now I love, and I feel like I get so many compliments on it, because it's different, but it's also still a pretty simple, you know, thin band.
Yeah, it is very
Yeah,
pretty. I loved
yeah,
photographing it.
yeah,
So let's move to like the wedding planning process. You found your venue like randomly just very soon after you got engaged
yeah.
because the stars aligned.
Yes.
How was the rest of your wedding planning process? Like, did you start searching for other vendors then right away? What was that like?
Pretty much right away because we booked it October 22nd, 2022 to get married October 21st, 2023. So we had like 364 days to start. And I had already kind of started with like looking at vendors just on the knot. It like showed me, who's worked there before and whatever. So I feel like I started pretty quickly, and also I'm a nurse, so I work night shift 3 days a week. So I had a Tuesday early afternoon to like be setting up phone calls. So I feel like that helped me out a lot. But yeah, I pretty much immediately, I think, started um, looking into to people that I at least like talking on the phone with people, like a bunch of different um, florists and photographers and hair and makeup people pretty immediately.
And did you have like your vision for the wedding day, like the design of it, the vibe of it before all of this, or did you kind of figure it out along the way as you were finding the vendors that you loved?
I feel like it was definitely along the way. I like was not really on like wedding TikTok, wedding Instagram, like until I like booked all my vendors and everything, which I don't know how that happened because I was like a 27-year-old woman. Like that feels like like
In a
I'm the
relationship?
target audience in a relationship. Like I should have been the target audience. I don't know how that happened. But I really feel like I booked my vendors before I had a idea, which I think was actually really helpful because I really booked the vendors based off people like I liked talking to and like having a conversation with. And I think by booking people who, I could get along with, I like trusted them more. And so I felt like they kind of helped me shape what everything was going to look like because I was basically like, well, they're my friends, so they won't steer me wrong.
I love that so much. I know, like, that's like true on my front too. Like, if, like, I'm gonna steer you in the best possible direction I can
Right,
for your
yeah,
wedding day.
yeah. Um, so I feel like it was, and there wasn't like a theme, like, I just didn't go into it thinking that way at all. Which then, halfway through wedding planning, I was on wedding TikTok and I was like, oh my God, am I supposed to have a theme? Like, I don't have a theme at all. Am I in trouble? But like, it was fine because I feel like what ended up happening was it was just like what Alex and I liked. And because, we're compatible and our vendors were like our friends, which is like wild to say. But like we like grew to trust these people so much that it felt very cohesive, even though we went into it just like we had no idea what we were doing.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to like uh, jump on the fact that your vendors like want the best for you on the day of the wedding. Did you know anything about like the side conversations happening about your florals for the ceremony?
So I feel like not until, which again, I'm like, my family, we still talk about like our bridal attendant and like Solomia. We love her. Like,
She's
um,
amazing.
she was incredible. I didn't know about anything until I feel like it was already solved, which
Good.
was like amazing. I had Alex and I joke all the time. We're like, were we there? Like, people will tell us things and we're like, news to us. Like, no idea what was happening. So I did not know
Okay, good.
at all.
So, what for people listening? It was an outdoor ceremony, and it was beautiful. It was on this front lawn leading up to this mansion-like entrance to the country club, and
Hmm.
on this front lawn there were a bunch of seats for the ceremony, and there was no real arbor, but there were these two like waist-high white pillars with floral arrangements on top, and it was really pretty. So that kind of acted
Hmm.
as the arbor.
Hmm.
However, it was windy that day with chances of rain.
Hmm.
And so the wind would knock down the pillars because the pillars were hollow, and then the
Yes.
flower arrangements would just smash onto the ground. And it was fine, like the flowers were like locked in there tight, but
Hmm.
then I think it was your bridal attendant who was like, "This can't happen during the ceremony. Like that is not that would not be
Yeah.
good." So
Yeah.
I think it was her idea too, because we were kind of spitballing what to do. It was her idea to flip the pillars upside down because there were holes in the bottom, fill them with water so that they
Yeah.
would be like more sturdy, and then put the flowers on top. But they had to put
Yeah.
enough water in because if it wasn't enough, then they would fall and spill water all over your dress.
We would just be soaked.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
that was a great idea. Also had my fingers crossed the whole entire ceremony that that would not happen, but it was
Yeah.
perfect and it didn't happen and they stayed put.
And it was like wonderful. It was also, and like I think also the cocktail hour flower arrangements, they were like, they will not stay. Like, we cannot get them to stay up. They're blowing over. We like put the vases away for you, and we like decorated with the flowers on the bar. There were like all of these things I feel like that happened 10 minutes before we like went down the aisle. And I was just like, thank you for doing what you can. Like, there's nothing else I could do at this point. But I
Yeah.
think you and Solomia were both very like, it's up to you. Like, you can make the decision. It's up to you. Um, and I think it was you, Solomia, and my dad were filling the columns with water, like in like pails, like down the aisle. And I was just like, but again, it was like I couldn't have asked for better people in that moment, and it felt like, it was just like a feeling from the beginning that I'd gone, which is why I'd booked you guys, and I could like we could not have been luckier with our people, truly.
Yay, that makes me very
Yeah,
happy. And that's because the people who run your wedding day, the vendors, like they are a big impact on the day itself. So that makes
yeah,
me happy that you felt comfortable and that you could like
oh my gosh,
trust everybody to take the best
yeah,
care of you.
yeah,
I love that. So let's describe the wedding day itself too. So Huntingdon
okay,
Valley Country Club is very pretty. It is a golf club, but there are enough parts to it that it does not feel golf clubby.
yeah,
Is that a good way to describe it?
yeah, like totally, totally.
The way
It,
that the place of ceremony was out front was that lawn with the mansion face thing behind it, and then just like an iron gate and a bunch of trees. So in the fall, I think the fall was like the perfect time to get married there.
mhm. It was beautiful, and there was like this, I don't even know what it really was. It must have been like an old, I don't know, like groundskeeper house or something, but we did a lot of the moving pictures in front of this like ivy and moss covered house that made it seem like we were in like a random I don't know, like forest home. So we had like those pictures, and then like these like beautiful mansion background, and this like huge oak tree background. Like, there was, even just on the lawn, I felt like there were three or four different like picture opportunities that like made it look like we were at different places without having to like get on a golf cart and like, you know, travel around,
Yeah.
which would have taken up, I feel like, so much time.
Yeah, we did not move around a lot at all for your
Mm-mm.
pictures because there was so many different backgrounds in a very small space.
Yeah.
Like I think the furthest time it took us to walk from one spot to another was maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Like
Literally, yeah.
everything was within, like you could see everything.
Hmm.
So that's also something to think about too with choosing a venue. Like you don't need a whole grounds with 20 different picture spots. Like
Hmm.
if you have like five different like unique looking parts to the venue,
Yeah.
it's plenty for a very uh I guess very varied set
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
portraits.
Yeah. Because even with the walkway that is like into the parking lot, like some of my favorite pictures were there because it had all of the trees like kind of arching onto themselves, and that was literally just the walkway to the parking lot, which you wouldn't know in the pictures, but
Yeah, you can't
it's
tell.
like it couldn't have been. Yeah, I feel like I'm a walking ad for like my wedding vendors. I don't even care. Like, it couldn't have been. Yeah, it was so beautiful.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Very so happy that like that was your experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um okay. So let's talk more about like the latter half of the day because we talked about like the ceremony and all that, the
Hmm.
portraits. The reception was really fun.
So much fun.
Did you
It
put
was
like
amazing.
did you put a lot of like thought and effort into planning your reception or did it happen organically? I know you had a tambourine custom designed
Yes.
with your name on it. The
Yes.
DJ was really great because your reception happened during a Phillies playoff game. Or was
Yes.
it World Series? No, it was playoff.
It was playoffs, yeah.
Playoffs. And he kind of like kept announcing how they were
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
But it was also really cool because he played a lot of your songs, and it felt like everybody at your reception knew pretty much every song and was having a
Hmm.
blast the whole time. So was that like
Yeah.
the plan going in, or did that just kind of happen organically?
I feel like it was I feel like it was pretty organic. I mean, also our families and friends are very fun. Like they are people that are going to be on the dance floor. Um, and so we basically just gave our DJ like a couple of songs that we were like, these are going to be like, the big songs that are going to get people on the dance floor. I feel like what we didn't anticipate was we gave him a lot of dinner songs. So people started dancing like before we thought they were going to dance because they were like into the dinner songs too. Um, and another thing that I like wasn't expecting because we picked the DJ and it was like, oh, we want somebody who's gonna like get the party started, kind of. But it's also he was like a very experienced DJ, so that happened. That we were, like people were dancing and it got the party started. I think while the vendors were supposed to be eating dinner. Is that true? Like, were you guys eating dinner when all that started?
Maybe. I know we ate dinner like towards the end of when you guys were eating. Um, and I think there was one point where I was finishing up dinner and the DJ ran and he was like, "Guys, you got to come out here. Like the dance floor is it's popping." So I was like, "Okay." I think one
Be-
last fight and ran back out. And it
because
was.
it was, yeah, because we were gonna do a cake cutting at 8 o'clock. Like we had a cake cutting song and all of that stuff. And so somebody from the country club was like, we know you want to do the cake cutting song. The vendors are eating. Do you just want to like let people keep dancing and then let the vendors eat and we'll kind of, pause, do the cake cutting and start dancing again. And we were like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's whatever. And then the DJ came up and was like, hey, I know you guys want to do the cake cutting, but like kind of don't. Not like in that way, but he was like,
Yeah.
you don't want to like completely stop like what's starting to like play a James Taylor song, cut the cake, and then try to get everyone back on the dance floor. So we just like kind of did it off to the side to like I think a Dua Lipa song, like we just like did the cake cutting, got the pictures, and then kind of went back to dancing. But yeah, like I was just kind of like wasn't even thinking about like, oh yeah, why would we like stop? We like hired somebody to like get the party started. Like why would we be like, okay, let's take a break?
Yeah, I totally get that. So what you did instead was technically a soft cake cutting where it's like not announced and people don't stare at you cutting the cake. Um, and I think it did work out really well because the party was raging behind you guys, and it also put you two in a different like mental space too. With more like formal cake cuttings, it's like, okay, everybody look, you're smiling, you're cutting the cake, and then you kiss, and
Yeah.
then it's like back into it. But there's a party going on behind you. You guys are feeling it. You're having fun. You're cutting the
Yeah.
cake with already just like a naturally big smile on your face.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite pictures of the day was the kiss after the cake cutting because you put your hand on Alex's cheek and was like, "Come here, kiss me." And it's
Yes.
just like a true, like, just very excited kiss, like, love this. Let's get back into the dance party.
Yeah.
And you could tell it was that, and it wasn't like, okay, no kiss.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites as well. Yeah. It
Yay.
is. Oh, I love that picture so much.
Me too. Yes, it was
Yeah.
just the way it happened was perfect for sure.
Yeah.
And I need to ask you, was the tambourine a gift or was it something that you brought?
So it was a gift from some of my friends that were on my bachelorette party. I went to the Finger Lakes with like a bunch of family and friends. Like a bunch of my cousins went, a bunch of my friends went, and at the last winery, it was also kind of like a bar, and there was a live band, and there was like instruments for people to play in the crowd, which was basically just like us and, some people from that area. And we were like dancing with everyone and playing. I was playing a tambourine most of the night. And the next day, my legs were completely bruised from playing the tambourine on my legs all night at
Oh
my
my gosh.
bachelorette. And so my the girls that were on the bachelorette with us made me this tambourine and brought it out at the reception. And it was so funny, and like, so I obviously like still have the tambourine, but it like went on the party bus back to the hotel, and I was like, where is my tambourine? And someone was like, oh, we took it for the bus ride back. And I was like, okay, can I have it back now, please?
Oh my gosh. I love that story. That's amazing. I
It
didn't know there
was,
was such a
yeah.
backstory.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
you had the tambourine going like the whole entire reception too. It was such a vibe.
Yeah. And it was so funny, like seeing pictures of like different people with the tambourine throughout the night.
Yes, it got passed around.
Yes, it did. It was so funny.
Such a unique part to the night too, which wasn't even planned. So I love that.
No, no, not by me at least.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was like one of your favorite parts about the wedding day? Like what was something about the day that you loved? Maybe it was something that you didn't expect to stand out so much, or it was like something that you expected to love. Like what stands out?
Um, I think the thing that I loved and didn't expect to love, because I thought I would have been more stressed out during, was probably getting ready in the morning. Because like obviously I was looking forward to marrying him because I love him, and really looking forward to the reception and that party with our friends and family. But I was kind of like, the morning of your wedding must be so stressful. Like you must be so anxious, you must be super stressed out. And I like did not feel that way at all. Like we had like music going, we had coffee, we had, like food. It wasn't anything like extravagant. It was literally, the coffee from the country club and Costco sandwiches and stuff. It wasn't anything like expensive or elaborate, but we were like listening to music. It was my mom's sister, cousins, sister-in-law and mother-in-law. It was really just like hanging out with your family, which is, I mean, obviously that's what it was, but that's what it felt like. And the hair and makeup artists that were with us were like so funny and sweet, and just again, like I had booked her because I really liked talking to her on the phone. And our trial, it was very we just like did it in my apartment, and we're watching New Girl in the background. Like that was the trial, and I was like, this is so fun. Like I'm having such a nice time talking to you. And so I felt like it wasn't this feeling of like, oh, there's these strangers hanging out with us. I'm getting married in 4 hours. I'm feeling very, very stressed out. And I was expecting to feel really stressed out that morning. So that's probably my favorite, like my favorite unexpected part.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was there any point where it kind of like sunk in like, oh my gosh, ceremony's about to happen. I'm about to marry my best friend. Ah.
Yeah. I think it was, I think it was probably, it wasn't even the first look with Alex. I think it was the first look with my dad, where I was like, because everyone else had kind of seen me getting ready and we were talking about the wedding all day. And we did the like getting dressed in my wedding dress with my mom and my sister, who had helped me try on the wedding dress, hundreds of times. It wasn't a surprise. And then I think it was that like in front of that huge window where it was my dad was like facing away from me as I walked down the stairs, where I was like, oh, this is like really my wedding day. My dad's about to see me in a wedding dress, like as the bride, not just like dress up or. I think that was the moment. Because then I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I can't wait for Alex to see me now. And then, oh my God, everyone's going to see me. And so that I feel like it was really starting to sink in. I was like, oh my God, like I'm the actual bride.
Yeah, you're not just playing dress up.
Yeah, no, it's not just like oh, we're like having all of these parties, it's so much fun. But we're having all the, parties because I'm actually a bride.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like internalizing.
Yeah.
How was the first look with your dad? Like, how was that moment?
Ugh, it was so beautiful. Like I'm well, I think it was your idea. I don't even think I knew that was a thing. I think that was your idea. To do the first look with dad. I mean, it was just like um it was like a very special moment. My dad is like the sweetest man I think ever, and just like cried as soon as he turned around. I think like halfway turning around he started crying. And it was just like this like really beautiful moment of like, like you're a little girl playing dress up again, and your dad is like, "Oh my God, this is my little girl," but about to marry this man. He loves Alex, so it was kind of just it was so beautiful. I don't even know if I can like fully describe it because it was just like such an emotional and special moment. That
You're gonna make
that
me
the
cry.
entire that like the entire bridal party was like peeking around to to like watch because they all knew that my dad was gonna cry.
It looked like a very sweet moment photographing it. Um,
Yeah.
I I love those moments because I have a really close relationship with my dad, and so
Hmm.
photographing those moments with other brides who are also close with their dads is just really special because you have a lot of special moments with your mom getting ready, and
Hmm.
she's there for like a lot of moments your dad's not. So
Yeah.
having that, I feel like, is a nice, just carved out like 5 minutes of the day
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have that moment with him and just another way to like honor your parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And how was the first look with Alex? Did you enjoy doing it? Were you glad you did one? Were you debating it beforehand?
We never debated it. I think we always knew we were going to do a first look. It was just kind of like, whereas my dad's, I felt like it was like, oh, so like emotional and special. Alex's, it was just kind of like a moment that we got privately to be like, can you believe we're getting married? Like, at least for us. And I'm sure other people it's like this very like emotional moment. But I kind of needed that with Alex, I felt like in that moment, because you're about, you're getting closer and closer, and like, it's not like, all right, let's take off the dress and like get comfy again because we're hours away. It's like you're in it. And he just like kept looking at me, and eventually you were like, you guys can hug. Like, Alex, you can touch her, like it's okay. And he was like, oh yeah, like, because it's just this moment of like, oh my God. It was like he'd never seen the dress. It's just like this complete, like, we woke up that morning and I like kissed him goodbye, and then, you know, all of a sudden it really is our wedding day in 2 hours, and it's wild.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that you say that you guys were just like, wow, we are really about to do this. Because after the first look, like it was sweet. Like you were just taking each other in, and then you just kept like staring at each other, like, wow, like this is actually happening. And I think that's
Yeah.
why I said like, you can hug, like
Yeah.
it's okay, like it's you don't have to just stare at each other.
Right.
Hug, kiss, talk, like have
Right.
that
Yeah.
here. Because it's the first look's
Yeah.
different for everybody. Some people are like that where they're like it just hits them, it's like whoa, wow, it's happening. Other
Yeah.
people immediately sob and cry and like are
Yeah.
hugging and just being close, and other people are
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, big relief, we can see each other, now it's over, let's move on. Like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's different for everybody, the benefits different for everybody, so that's cool
Hmm.
that you had that moment to like have it just sink in, like this is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's great. So let's wrapping things up. Is there a piece of advice that you'd want to give to brides planning their wedding, either about the wedding planning process or like for the wedding day itself? Like if you had to share your advice,
Hmm.
what would you say?
Um, I feel like one of the pieces is, if you I had a vendor that I didn't end up going with, obviously, who just like I left the conversation, and it was the cheapest option for flowers that like I think is available in the world. Like it was a super cheap option. And I just left, but I left that conversation feeling so crappy. Like I really left that conversation, and it was like very belittling about like what my vision was for the wedding. And I was like, I don't care how much more I have to pay for flowers as long as I don't leave any like vendor conversation feeling this way. And
Yeah.
so that I feel like that because I was like, oh, you know, you're supposed to like try and save a little bit like where you can. But I was like, I simply will work extra shifts as long as I can like leave feeling good about, you know, the conversations that I'm having and the decisions that I'm making. So I feel like that is one. And also like the week before the wedding, I feel like go out and do things because everything is done that can possibly be done at that point. So like just enjoy time together because like the wedding isn't the end, it's the beginning of your marriage. So don't treat it as like I have to like be in, like damage control. Like go out to dinner, like make dinner together. I mean, we went to my friend's wedding in Punta Cana. I don't know that I would suggest doing that,
The week
but it
before?
was the week before, yeah,
Oh
the
my
week
gosh.
before we got married.
Wow.
I don't know that I would suggest that, but it made me realize like the reason that I'm marrying this person is because I love doing things with them. So like why am I holding myself away in case something goes wrong? Like everything's done, everything's ready. Just like enjoy the nothingness leading up to your wedding with the person that you are marrying.
That's a really great piece of advice because it can be easy to like run through the list of things a gazillion times
Yeah.
and try and make
Which
sure
I
everything's
did.
perfect. Right, yes, but
Yeah, which I totally did. I rewrote the like decoration list 16 times because I was like, there must be something missing. But it was just like Alex would like come home from work and he'd be like, okay, let's watch our favorite TV show. Let's like make dinner together. And I was like, all right, that's why I'm marrying you. Like because I love you,
yes.
and it's not because of the wed. It's not because I wanted to plan a wedding. It's because I want to marry you.
And you want those days for the rest of your life. You want the coming home from
Exactly.
work, let's make dinner together. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
also am so sorry that you felt so terrible after that conversation with the florist. Like that's
Yeah.
mind-boggling to me that some people like make you feel that way from a conversation about your wedding day.
Yeah. It was just like it was somebody who was very obviously had been doing it for a long time and thought that the way it's always been done is the way it should still be done. And like I don't know, like he gave me a hard time about us not wanting like the big elaborate wedding cake, and I was like, "What? Why do you care what you're I mean, not that it's like you're a florist, why should you care? But it's like just because I'm not paying you more money to like decorate my wedding cake, you're gonna tell me it's like a bad idea to not have a wedding cake. Like, I don't think this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Not if I'm doing something wrong, I was totally willing for people to be like, hey, maybe this instead. But like, yeah.
Yeah. There's a difference between like I'll go off with the photography side because that's what I'm most familiar with. Um
Mm-hmm.
telling somebody like, "Hey, if you have an outdoor ceremony in the summer, like try and make sure that there's some shade nearby if people need to
Mm-hmm.
like have some like that is different than being like, "Ew, why would you have an outdoor ceremony in the summer?"
Right, yeah.
because
Yeah, it was
there's
just like,
people have visions for their day that they've dreamed about for
mm-hmm.
their whole lives, and each wedding is so unique to the couple. And
Right.
as vendors, it's our job to make that wedding day come true, like to make it
Yeah,
happen for the people we are working for, essentially.
right. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So I was like, I talked to Alex and I was like, I get that he's cheap, but like, I don't. He was like, don't even think about it for another second. Like, we're not going with him. It's like, perfect.
Love that. We love a
Yeah.
supportive husband.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Amazing. And then one last question, just to wrap things up even more. If you had a word to describe marriage so far, because it's been a couple of months, what would that word be?
Mm, I'm between like loving and safe. Like, it's like very just simple. Maybe simple. Like, there's no more questions. There's no more, like, when's he gonna propose? It's just like we get to just enjoy our lives together and like make it our life however we want it to be. which is simple, easy, loving. I don't know. I give you 6 words.
All great words, though. I love that a lot. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing so much about your relationship and your wedding day. Um, it was awesome chatting with you and recapping your day.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks so much, Gabrielle.
That was such a lovely conversation. I loved how Olivia said she chose her vendors based on how well she got along with them and trusted her gut, and then kind of used those vendors to plan the vibe for her wedding day. It just goes to show how important your vendors are to the wedding day itself. And I was also on the verge of happy tears listening to her describe the first look with her dad. I loved that moment so much, and I ask every bride if they want to do this first look with their dad because for those who have close relationships with their dad or a father figure in their life, it truly is such a special moment. So, if you loved this episode, if you found anything helpful, please share this episode to your Instagram story and tag me at Gabriella Marie Audi. And lastly, give this podcast a 5-star rating and review if you found anything helpful. If you loved listening to it, that would mean the world to me. And I just appreciate you listening so much. So, go hug your person, and I'll see you next Wednesday.